Hi, everyone, and welcome to the second edition of our basketball training tapes for the 2024-25 basketball season, being brought to you by the Wisconsin Officials Association Alliance. This film is being released just after the holidays, so we're going to be taking a look at some clips and situations from some holiday tournaments and other showcase events that we've been a part of to help us get ready for the next part of our basketball season. A few disclaimers before we begin today's training tape. This training tape is a product of the Wisconsin Officials Association Alliance and does not constitute any official instruction given by the WIAA or the NFHS. The videos and comments that are made are meant for a three-person high school crew. Some clips may include games at the college level, but for those clips, we're going to focus again just on the three-person high school mechanics and rules. No video or comment made in this training tape is intended to call out or degrade players, officials, coaches, or teams in any way. This content is intended just to look at plays and situations that come up during the year to help us improve during the basketball season. This film is, again, an individually created resource by our association, and it is strictly intended for educational purposes only for officials that wish to use it. And if you have any questions or concerns at all, please feel free to contact me at my email listed below. My name is Kent Meehee. I'm a WOAA member, and I'm also a member of the Wisconsin River Officials Association, acting as our basketball co-chair. The first topic that we're going to discuss is trusting the system, and the system being the three-person crew system that we have at the high school level. That will require us to be strong in our primary, but also trust our partners in their primary and when to officiate primary and secondary defenders. So, like I had mentioned, the system that we're talking about is the three-person system. And we need to understand the purpose of that system and our primary coverage areas. That provides us more effective coverage and it enhances our ability to be in a dependable position. In order to carry out this system that we have in place, we have to have a strong teamwork approach for our crew going into every game that we officiate. We are not just going out there and officiating individually, we're acting as a team. And depending on whether we're in the trail, center, or lead positions, we each have a responsibility in each position. This system allows us to have officials in those positions to accurately call those plays in our area. And in order to ensure that those plays are called accurately, we have to trust each other in our areas and not over officiate and reach into our partners' areas. Because when we do that, that decreases our call accuracy and it decreases our credibility. We need to be able to trust each other when we have matchups in our primaries and not over officiate and reach out of our areas. Now, there may be some instances where we sometimes call them crew saving plays, where someone has to come in and get the foul that occurs. And sometimes that requires us to go out of our area. That's okay if that happens. However, what we're talking about in today's training tape is not making that become a habit. We don't want to have a habit of going out of our primaries. We want to be able to trust our partners with their respective primary coverage areas. In some cases, we will have secondary defenders that step into a play. And that mostly happens on drives to a basket when, let's say, my teammate gets beat on a drive to a basket and I step in to help with the play, or on post play action. So if there's a player in the post and a defender steps over to maybe double team that post player. In that case, we need to understand who is responsible for those secondary defenders that step into those plays. And this can be a key component that we include in our pregame as well. We need to make sure if a secondary defender steps into a play, who is responsible for that. And at the end of the day, we want to trust each other in our primaries, which will help us add as much credibility to our crew as possible. So we're going to look at a few clips that are examples of front court coverage only, of when to avoid calling out of our primary, and some other good examples of showing patience and trust out of our primaries. Looking at plays where we correctly call fouls on defenders in our primary, and another instance on when to pick up secondary defenders. On this first clip we're going to watch, we're going to see a play develop and finish in the center's area and a call coming from the lead official. So when we break this play down, we're not focusing on the foul, we're focusing strictly on the coverage of this play. So as we can see, white 12 commits a pushing foul from behind on the shooter. That defender comes from the center's area. The lead calls this foul across the lane. Now, even though this is a correctly called foul, we want to be able to increase our accuracy and credibility as much as possible. Because white 12 comes from the center's area, this is a primary defender that the center is responsible for. So even though we get the call correct, we would like to see the center official step in and make this call. As the lead, we need to be patient and not call across the lane on defenders that are out of our area because we might get stacked up and not have the best angle on plays like this. So in this first clip, white 12 is coming from the center's area. We'd like for the center to come in and step forward and make this call in their primary, and to have the lead show just a little bit more patience and trust that the C will come in and get this call. Our next clip is another example of trusting the play that happens in our partner's area. We see a drive to the basket that goes into the center's area and a call coming from the trail across the court. Again, we're not going to focus on the call itself. We're going to focus on the coverage of this play. This play originates and stays in the center's area, and we would like the center to have the first chance at making a call on this play. The trail official may have seen something different, but when we make calls that are far across the court or that are uh, not right in front of our areas, it can decrease the credibility of the crew, and it just doesn't show trust amongst crew members. So in this play, we want to have the center official take this action and stay with their primary defender and make a ruling on the play. The trail and the lead can be in place in case any secondary defenders step over. The lead does pick up the secondary defender that comes over to help, but they stay patient, and we should allow the center official in this play to to have a call on this. The next example is showing a great example of primary and secondary defenders and who is responsible for each of these. So we have a pass to the wing and a drive to the basket and a potential block charge play that occurs. The first thing that we're going to pick up on is the primary and secondary defender. The primary defender in this play is white 0. That defender is the responsibility of the center official. When that player gets beat, a secondary defender then steps over into the play to attempt to take a charge. We would like the lead to be responsible for the secondary defender that steps over. And even though this is across the lane, there are some instances where secondary defenders step in across the lane. So in this case, we would like the lead to take the secondary defender. The center official again has the primary defender, which is white 0, and the lead can step down. As you can see, the lead closes down on the drive, and they are responsible for that secondary defender that steps in to attempt to take a charge. So hopefully this clip can give you a good idea of a primary and secondary defender example and whose responsibility it is. Again, the primary defender is the responsibility of the center official, and on the drive, the secondary defender that attempts to take the charge can be picked up by the lead, and the lead can help on any block charge adjudication that may happen. These next two clips are examples of good patience by the crew and the correct call coming from the correct official. In this case, we have another transition play that originates in the center's area, and we have a call coming from the center official. This is a correct call because the primary defender originates in the center's primary. The lead could have stepped in and had a whistle on this play, but again, we want to trust each other and understand who's responsible for which defender. In this case, the play originates in the center's primary, and the center takes that primary defender to the basket and has a ruling on the play. And again, we don't really care in this case about what the call was, but we want to just recognize that the center official picks up their primary defender, and the lead shows great patience in trusting that the center will take that defender to the basket and have a play on the call. And just another example of a gray area play occurring in in the lane, and we have a call coming from the center official. Now, this play occurs on the side of the center official, and we could argue that this happens in that gray area, that invisible line that goes right down the middle of the lane. But we want to just show and highlight that the trail and the lead show great patience. The defender in this play that seems to commit a shooting foul is picked up by the center official, and the lead allows the center official to have a call on this play. Now, it does seem potentially that the defender comes from the lead's primary as it goes into the center's area, but we just want to recognize that both officials show good patience. The center official allows this play to develop and correctly comes in with a foul call. Now, if we had a double whistle on this play, it wouldn't be the worst thing because it seems that based on this angle, both the lead and the center official have a good angle on the play, and that defender comes from the lead's area. However, we want to try to avoid double whistles as much as possible. And this is just a great example of the lead trusting that the center official is going to pick up this defender on the shot, and we correctly call a foul, and we're able to again just add that feeling of trust and credibility amongst each other so that we can carry that on through the rest of the game. The second topic that we're going to cover in the training tape is dead ball officiating. When the ball becomes dead, we sometimes have a tendency to relax, right? You might have a game that is up and down and there's a lot of transition action. And when the ball becomes dead, we sometimes treat that as a chance to catch our breath and maybe just get our minds ready for the next play. However, when the ball becomes dead, we cannot relax in that case. We need to become alive when the ball becomes dead. We need to understand that there's a lot of responsibility that we need to take care of during a dead ball. We need to, maybe we have to go report a foul. Maybe we have to bring subs in. We have to determine where the ball is going to be thrown in next. There also may be player interactions that are occurring during the game that might escalate into something bigger. We need to make sure that we're addressing those during dead balls and so that we can avoid any other extra escalation that might occur from players and also coaches. We also might be addressing a coach during a dead ball. So there's a lot of moving parts that are occurring during a dead ball, and we need to make sure that we are keeping the game moving and being aware of any situations that occur so that again, we don't want anything extra building uh, in front of our crew that we don't catch, and we just want to avoid any other problems that might happen during a dead ball. So these next two clips that we're going to look at are addressing player behavior and a technical foul sequence, and we'll just make comments and look at how the crew handles each situation and just understand the importance of why we always have to be alert and looking at what's going on during a dead ball. So the first clip, excuse me, the first clip that we're going to take a look at with dead ball officiating, we're going to have some player interactions around the free throw line. So let's watch this play carry out. So we've got a foul call from an official, and now we can see around the free throw line that we have some bumping. It looks like some words are being exchanged between players. Maybe something occurred earlier in the game that caused tensions to rise. but we also need to understand the importance of taking care of this interaction right away. We can see that there's 8 minutes left in the game. We have a 1 point contest. This may be a rivalry game of some kind when emotions are high, and we want to make sure that we address this behavior as soon as possible so it doesn't escalate into something else. Another thing to note is that we all need to trust each other that we are taking care of our responsibilities. We have an official reporting the foul, we have and bringing subs in. We have an official that is going to the throw-in spot, and then we have our lead official underneath the basket. Um, it looks like the players kind of interact a little bit and maybe say a few words or bump into each other a couple times. We have this interaction going on for maybe 10 seconds. And that interaction occurs for that long before we have our administering official step in to address this behavior. What we would like to see is our lead official is not reporting a foul and is not responsible for the throw in. We would like to see our lead official recognize this behavior right away and step in and just make sure that nothing else occurs from it. So we just have to remember that just because the ball is dead, that doesn't mean that we don't have any responsibilities. We need to make sure we pick up on this player interaction right away to avoid anything else occurring that could get us into trouble. Now, the crew does a good job of stepping in. Both officials step in and address the behavior, and they're able to move on with that on their minds so that they're able to address that in case something else comes up later in the game. But again, when the ball becomes dead, we need to be aware of any other situations that are occurring so that nothing else bad happens. The last clip that we're going to look at is a technical foul that occurs on a player. And not that we're going to take a look at the technical itself, but we're just going to reiterate some responsibilities from the crew during a technical foul sequence. So in this case, we have a drive to the basket, and looks like we have some inappropriate comments or words that come from a player, and we have a technical foul on blue 3. Again, just because there's a technical foul doesn't mean that we get to sit and take take a breath and relax. We need to make sure that we cover all of the responsibilities during a technical foul. We need to first make sure that players get to their benches or at least are separated during a technical foul. If we allow players to mingle amongst each other, or if we don't have an official that is watching the players, that could be an instance where another comment might be made and again bad things could happen there. So as we see, the official that reported that called the technical is going to the table to report. We have our other officials that are around the players. They're informing the coaches of what had happened, and we see that they send the players to their benches. The next thing that the officials do is they meet briefly to discuss what will happen next so that they're all on the same page. We know that White will be shooting free throws and it will be White's ball opposite of the table. So, not a whole lot of extra unique things that are happening in this play. But again, during a technical foul, we need to make sure we're aware of player interactions. We need to inform the table of what the foul was and what would occur next. And we might even talk to the PA announcer to announce that there is a technical foul, there will be free throws awarded, and whose ball it will be coming out so that everybody is on the same page and everybody is aware of the situation that happened. And we also want to meet in front of the table so as a crew to touch base really briefly so we're all on the same page, and that way we know what is going to happen next. We can keep the game moving and we can avoid any other situations that might arise from a technical foul sequence. So again, everybody has a responsibility. Everybody needs to be alert and aware of the players and the next steps that occur after this technical foul, which would be the free throws and the throw in opposite of the table. So, in closing, we want to make sure that we are strong individually in our primaries, but also we want to trust our partners in their primary coverage areas. We need to understand who is responsible for primary and secondary defenders. And again, we just have to trust our partners in their primaries and not like call across the lane or reach too far out of our primaries just to add credibility to our crew. And when we have any dead ball situations, that's when we need to come alive and be aware of any other interactions or situations that occur so that we can avoid any situations that might come up and keep the game moving and make sure that we can adjudicate things correctly and take care of all those responsibilities that we have during dead balls. I want to thank you for watching this training tape and appreciate you using this resource as an improvement tool. And we look forward to creating more content for you the rest of the basketball season.